Hello, and welcome to Real Talk. I'm your host, Josh Bell, and I am thrilled to be your guide on this journey through some of cinema's most unforgettable and visually unique worlds. If you are a fan of the strange, the surreal, and the beautifully bizarre, then you're in the right place, because we're diving into the incredible filmography of Tim Burton, a director whose work has shaped the imaginations of countless fans across the globe. Today, we're going to jump into BeetleJuice, one of Burton's earliest and most defining films. Now, why are we here? Well, BeetleJuice is far more than just a quirky ghost story or a Halloween classic. It's the movie that truly launched Burton into the spotlight, cementing his signature mix of dark humor, gothic visuals, and lovable misfits. BeetleJuice is a film that established Burton's knack for creating worlds where the bizarre and the heartfelt can truly coexist. A place where the dead have as much personality as the living, if not more. This isn't just another fun rewatch, it's a defining piece of Burton's filmography that set the tone for so much of what he would go on to create. So get ready to step into this weird and wonderful world filled with ghosts, ghouls, and one very eccentric bio-exorcist as we explore the film that brought Tim Burton's unique imagination to life. Let's dive into the unforgettable chaos of BeetleJuice. Alright, so let's start with the ghostly basics of BeetleJuice. Our story begins with Barbara and Adam Maitland, a young, wholesome couple living a peaceful life in their quaint New England home. Played by Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin, the Maitlands are likable, ordinary, and utterly unsuspecting of the bizarre adventures that await. Their world is turned upside down when a tragic accident leads them to discover that they are, dead. Stuck as ghosts in their own beloved home, Barbara and Adam are in for a rude awakening as they attempt to adjust to the afterlife. Soon, their peaceful eternity is shattered by the arrival of the Deetz family, a loud, wealthy, and thoroughly eccentric family from New York City. There's Charles, the exhausted former real estate developer, his avant-garde, art-obsessed wife Delia, and their gothic daughter Lydia, played by Winona Ryder. The Deetzes have a vision for the house, and it's anything but quaint. They begin tearing apart the Maitlands' carefully curated decor, filling it with abstract sculptures and bold colors, and infusing it with a personality that couldn't be any further from the Maitlands' tastes. Barbara and Adam, desperate to reclaim their space, try to spook the Deetz family into leaving. But let's just say they're far from terrifying. Their attempts fall flat, and they lack flair for the haunting that is needed to really send the Deetzes packing. Enter BeetleJuice, a bio-exorcist as he calls himself, played by the great Michael Keaton. BeetleJuice is no ordinary ghost though. He's chaotic, he's crude, and has his own agenda. With wild eyes, unpredictable behavior, and an unmistakable flair for the outrageous, BeetleJuice offers the Maitlands a deal. He'll help him get rid of the Deetzes if they're willing to pay the price. As Barbara and Adam come to terms with BeetleJuice's methods and motives, the story evolves beyond a simple ghost tale. BeetleJuice becomes a darkly comic exploration of the afterlife, the need to belong, and the lengths we go to hold on to the familiar. Burton crafts a world where the living and the dead collide in one eccentric mix, a theme we'll see over and over in his career. It's a tale of contrasts, the mundane versus the macabre, tradition against modernity, and a clash of worlds that's as unsettling as it is hilarious. When we think of Tim Burton, we think of the gothic, surreal, and wildly imaginative worlds that he brings to life. And BeetleJuice was that first film to truly showcase this unique aesthetic, marking a point in his career where his vision began to truly take full shape. It's here that Burton really carved out a style that mixes dark whimsy with twisted humor, and his ability to balance these contrasts is part of what makes BeetleJuice such a compelling film. One of the most striking aspects of Burton's style is his use of color and tone to establish a sense of place. BeetleJuice uses a muted, dusty palette for much of the real world, grounding it in a mundane, small-town feel. But when we shift to the afterlife, a place populated by a bizarre array of ghosts, social workers, and creatures, Burton floods the screen with vibrant splashes of neon greens, purples, eerie blues. These sharp contrasts create an offbeat, otherworldly vibe that heightens the film's dreamlike quality and sets the stage for the absurdist elements that follow. And can't go without talking about the effects. Burton was working with a limited budget and limited technology, but he made the most of his practical effects, stop motion animation, and makeup to create the uncanny look of BeetleJuice. The surreal sandworm in the afterlife, the ghostly grotesquerie transformations, and BeetleJuice's own wild shape-shifting antics are all brought to life with hand-on effects that feel real and tactile. The stop-motion animation and the puppetry add a layer of charm and unsettling realism that CGI often misses. These practical effects became hallmarks of Burton's style, setting the stage for the unforgettable visual effects in later works like The Corpse Bride. Now, at the heart of BeetleJuice is a theme Burton frequently returns to: the outcast. BeetleJuice himself is the ultimate misfit. Vulgar, chaotic, a total rule breaker. He's a far cry from the safe ghost the Maitlands represent. In fact, he's the opposite of what the afterlife expects. Breaking norms and disregarding authority, he's offensive, unpredictable, and often deeply unlikable. Yet he has a strange and undeniable charm. This fascination with outsiders is a theme Burton continues to explore throughout his career, especially in characters like we'll see Edward Scissorhands coming up. With BeetleJuice, Burton pushed the boundaries of what a comedy/horror could look like. He gave audiences a taste of the playful, dark fantasy worlds he would go on to perfect. The blend of eccentric visuals, practical effects, and unforgettable characters make BeetleJuice a defining piece of Burton's early career, and one that showcased his ability to create worlds that feel hauntingly alive. At the heart of BeetleJuice, it's the cast and the unique energy each actor brings to the table. At the forefront is Michael Keaton's performance as BeetleJuice, which is just legendary at this point. Keaton took on a role that was completely unhinged, this chaotic, unpredictable bio-exorcist with a gleeful disregard for decorum. He brings a manic energy that feels almost larger than life, with his exaggerated facial expressions, wild body language, and devilish charm. It's no exaggeration to say that Keaton is the reason BeetleJuice has remained such a memorable character. Without his commitment to the insanity, the film wouldn't have its iconic wildness. Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin as Barbara and Adam Maitland, they're the perfect counterbalance to Keaton's madness. Their characters bring warmth and sincerity to the story. They're ordinary people trying to navigate an extraordinary world. And Davis and Baldwin capture this perfectly. Their chemistry feels genuine, and their earnest attempts at haunting give the story a kind of heart that makes this supernatural setting feel oddly relatable. They're gentle, lovable characters who ground the narrative, and their bewildered reactions to the chaos around them make them incredibly endearing. Then we have Winona Ryder as Lydia Deetz, the goth teenage girl who doesn't quite fit into her family's high-energy eccentricities. Ryder's performance is understated, but impactful. Her deadpan charm and soulful intensity make Lydia the emotional core of the film. While the Maitlands and BeetleJuice clash on what to do with the Deetz family, it's Lydia who connects them. She's an outsider in her own way, which makes her connection to Barbara and Adam even more meaningful. Ryder's portrayal of Lydia helped define the outsider role for a generation, and she brought a dark, poetic vulnerability that still resonates with fans. And the unmistakable music of Danny Elfman. BeetleJuice marked one of Elfman's earliest collaborations with Burton. They're 2 for 2 now. And it was the beginning of this legendary partnership that would help define Burton's worlds for decades. Elfman's score is playful yet haunting, a quirky, bouncy rhythm that perfectly captures the film's tone. The opening theme for the film is iconic, blending that whimsy with an eerie undertone that sets the stage for the chaos that is to come. But Elfman's music doesn't just accompany the scenes, it amplifies them. His compositions feel like they're stitched into the very fabric of Tim Burton's worlds, bringing that essential mix of that mischief and the mystery. This collaboration between Burton, Keaton, Ryder, Elfman created something truly unique, each one bringing their own touch that transformed BeetleJuice from a simple ghost story into a genre-defining film. They managed to strike a balance between the humor, the horror, and the heart, with performances and musicals that have become defining elements of that Burton style. This is where the Burton universe really started to take shape, and each of these collaborators played this pivotal role in making the film as unforgettable as it is. Now, on the surface, BeetleJuice might seem like a zany comedy horror film, but Burton loads it with themes that run far deeper. At its core, BeetleJuice explores isolation, belonging, and identity, and makes it more than just a ghost story. Each character is, in their own way, grappling with this need to belong and struggle to be seen. Starting with the Maitlands, after their sudden death, they're trapped as ghosts in their own home, desperately clinging to the familiarity and the security that represents. They've lost their place in the living world, but haven't fully transitioned to the next, leaving them caught in a kind of limbo. This theme of being stuck is mirrored by their attachment to their home, a space that they believe defines them, even though it has now become a prison of sorts. It's a poignant reflection on the human need for permanence, the desire to leave a mark, and the fear of losing identity in the face of inevitable change. Then, Lydia, the lonely and misunderstood teen who can see the Maitlands. Lydia is struggling with her own sense of isolation. She can't connect with her family, who are wrapped up in their own eccentric pursuits. She finds solace in the supernatural world of the Maitlands, who become her surrogate family. Lydia's journey is more than just befriending ghosts. It's about finding someone who really understands her. In a way, she's the living counterpart to the Maitlands. They're ghosts clinging to the life they once known, and she's a young girl struggling to belong in her current life. Burton uses Lydia as a bridge between the living and the dead, reminding us all that isolation can transcend any boundary, even life and death. Burton's take on the afterlife is so layered with symbolism. Rather than portraying the afterlife as a place of horror or peace, Burton creates a bureaucratic nightmare filled with red tape and endless paperwork. The characters wait in line, they fill out forms, they're assigned caseworkers, an approach that's mundane, absurd, and strangely relatable. This bureaucratic depiction of the afterlife suggests that even in death, we can't escape the absurdities of life. Burton's message might just be that life and the afterlife are both filled with complexities and pointless rules, making the best choice one of acceptance and adaptability. In a way, Burton is telling us that chaos and absurdity are unavoidable, and perhaps it's our attitude towards these absurdities that truly define us. And finally, there's BeetleJuice himself, a character who truly embodies chaos, defies boundaries, and exists entirely outside of the rules. He's a true outsider, a character who thrives on disruption and has zero interest in conforming to any standards, either in life or death. BeetleJuice's defiance and unpredictability serve as a sharp contrast to the Maitlands' desire for order and predictability. He's both a reflection of their worst fears and, in some ways, a darkly twisted version of their future if they fail to adapt. In this way, Beetlejuice becomes a symbol of total freedom, even if that freedom comes at the cost of decency and morality. Through these themes and symbols, Burton offers a darkly humorous look at human nature, suggesting that our desire to connect, to find belonging, and to understand who we are struggles we carry with us even beyond death. Beetlejuice isn't just about the afterlife, it's a commentary on the absurdity of life itself. In the end, maybe Burton's ultimate message is that life is far too bizarre, far too chaotic to control, so we might as well find a way to embrace it, even if that means befriending a ghost or two along the way. Now, when Beetlejuice hit theaters in 1988, it truly was something different. Strange, bold, and nearly impossible to categorize. Critics and audiences both didn't know quite what to make of it at first. It combined horror, comedy, and the supernatural in a way that was truly atypical of the time. Some critics praised Burton's originality and the film's inventive visuals, while others were thrown off by its eccentric tone and chaotic style. But despite any initial ambivalence, Beetlejuice was a commercial hit, grossing over $70 million domestically. For a film as bizarre as this one, that success was significant. Beetlejuice didn't just stand out, it drew audiences in precisely because it didn't look or feel like anything else. Over the years, Beetlejuice has evolved from an oddball hit to a true cult classic, one that seems to grow in relevance with each passing decade. Its popularity goes well beyond just the box office numbers. It's become part of the cultural lexicon. Burton's offbeat universe, with its mix of horror and humor, found an enduring place in pop culture. The film inspired countless Halloween costumes, from Beetlejuice himself with his striped suit and wild hair, to Lydia with her all-black gothic look, and even masks of some of the characters that the Maitlands become. Even today, people are recreating these iconic looks, especially at Halloween, where Beetlejuice references and costumes are everywhere. One of the most interesting aspects of Beetlejuice's cultural impact is its evolution into a live stage musical. The Beetlejuice musical has brought the characters and the film's distinctive style to a whole new generation. With its Broadway success and dedicated fan base, the musical emphasizes just how timeless the story and characters have become. It took the heart of Burton's original vision and reinvented it for the stage, expanding on the themes and characters in ways that feel fresh and faithful. Not many films can pull off this kind of adaptation while keeping the same spirit alive. And beyond the stage, Beetlejuice has had a ripple effect on Michael Keaton's career as well. His performance as Beetlejuice remains one of his most beloved roles, and it paved the way for a period of creative, eccentric characters in his filmography. Keaton's Beetlejuice showed Hollywood that he could play characters far beyond the usual protagonist, and it helped establish him as one of the most versatile actors of his generation. The film's success also allowed Burton to experiment further with his next projects, making Beetlejuice a springboard for his now iconic style. The influence of Beetlejuice doesn't stop at Halloween costumes or the musical. It's etched in pop culture. We see it referenced in other movies, TV shows. It had an animated series, and has even influenced fashion trends with its goth meets quirky style. Burton's vision helped popularize gothic, surreal aesthetics in mainstream media, paving the way for other dark, humorous films and shows. In fact, Beetlejuice's success made it possible for future projects that embrace this blend of goth and comedy, showing Hollywood that there was a place for weird, unconventional storytelling. Ultimately, Beetlejuice holds a place in the pop culture pantheon because it continues to speak to audiences of all ages, across generations. Its themes of identity, misfits, and the chaos of life and death resonate as much today as they did in 1988. Burton creatively and his willingness to push boundaries turned a quirky ghost story into a multi-generational phenomenon, ensuring that Beetlejuice will be remembered as the film that put Burton's eccentric, unforgettable vision on the map. So let's take a look at some behind-the-scenes stories and fun facts that really highlight the quirks of Beetlejuice. One of the most surprising tidbits is that Michael Keaton, despite being the titular character, only appears on screen for about 17 minutes throughout the entire film. It's astonishing how in such a short amount of time, he manages to leave a mark on the film and become the very embodiment of its chaotic spirit. Keaton's performance is so magnetic that it's hard to imagine the film without him, and that speaks volumes about his talent. Interestingly, Keaton played a significant role in shaping the character's look. Much of Beetlejuice's wild appearance, from the disheveled hair to the outrageous wardrobe, was actually inspired by Keaton himself. He brought a unique creative vision to the role, suggesting elements that helped define Beetlejuice's eccentric personality. This collaboration between the actor and the director is a great example of how creative processes can lead to iconic results. And let's talk about one of the film's most memorable moments, the scene at dinner where the characters perform Day-O, or the Banana Boat song, and dance. Believe it or not, this sequence was almost cut from the film. It was only through a combination of Burton's vision and some serious persuasion that this scene was even kept in the film. But the result? A delightful and unforgettable moment that perfectly captures the film's blend of humor and absurdity. It's hard to imagine the movie now without this scene, and it has since become kind of a touchstone in pop culture. Speaking of things that almost happened, there were wild rumors about sequels to Beetlejuice. One of the most infamous ideas was a sequel titled Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. Thankfully, that concept remained in the vault and never made it to production. The idea of Beetlejuice in a tropical setting sounds maybe fun in theory, but it's probably for the best that that didn't materialize. Sometimes a film is perfect in its original form, and when we get there, let's see what the sequel does do to this film. But that's down the road. In addition to these fun tidbits, the film also had its share of creative challenges. For instance, the special effects team employed groundbreaking techniques for the time, using practical effects and makeup rather than relying on CGI. This commitment to practical effects created a tactile quality that makes Beetlejuice feel uniquely charming. The team crafted some truly bizarre transformations and creatures, and the use of the stop-motion animation adds a surreal touch that aligns perfectly with what will become Burton's aesthetic. And lastly, we can't forget the creative collaboration that went on behind the scenes. Burton frequently worked with his production designer, Bo Welch, who brought the film's distinct visuals to life. The design of the Maitland's home and the afterlife scenes are prime examples of how Burton's vision was brought to fruition through this meticulous work of an entire team. Their collective efforts help shape a world that feels at once familiar and at the same time utterly alien. So as we take a look behind the curtain of Beetlejuice, it becomes clear that every aspect of the film, from the performances to the visual design, was a labor of love. These stories and details not only add layers to our understanding of the film, but they remind us of the magic that happens when talented people come together to create something special. So what's my take on Beetlejuice? This film is undeniably quirky and unique. Some might even label it as imperfect. But honestly, that's what I find so captivating about it. It's this delightful mix of the bizarre and the brilliant that makes Beetlejuice stand out in Tim Burton's filmography. That's why I'm giving it a solid 8 out of 10. It's memorable and distinct, never shying away from its own eccentricities. What really strikes me is how Burton's visuals are fully realized, yet still allow for a few rough edges, those little imperfections that only enhance its charm. The film doesn't conform to traditional storytelling. Instead, it embraces the chaotic, unpredictable nature of life. And that's refreshing. It's a wonderful reminder that not everything needs to fit neatly into a box. Sometimes it's the quirks and the oddities that make a story truly special. At its core, the BeetleJuice explores those themes of belonging and identity, which resonate just as much with me today as they did when I was a child in the 80s watching this for the first time. The struggles of Barbara and Adam, alongside Lydia's quest for connection, reflect a universal desire to find our place in the world. We've all had those moments where we feel like outsiders, navigating a space that doesn't feel like ours. BeetleJuice, in all his chaotic glory, becomes a symbol of that struggle. While he's wild and unpredictable, he also embodies the chaos that life brings. And he reminds me that it's okay to embrace my own weirdness. And let's not forget the humor. The film balances its darker elements with a very playful tone, making it accessible to a wide audience. Whether it's the outrageous antics of BeetleJuice or the witty exchanges between characters, Otho being one in particular that's very funny to me, the film invites laughter while also provoking thought about life and death, and it manages to attack these heavier themes without feeling heavy-handed, which is no small feat. Ultimately, BeetleJuice isn't just a ghost story for me. It's a celebration of the eccentric and the misunderstood. It encourages me to find joy in the chaos and to appreciate the unique quirks that make me who I am. So if you've ever felt a little out of place or embraced your inner misfit, this film may speak directly to you. It becomes an invitation to revel in the strange and to laugh at life's absurdities. So as I wrap up this reflection, I encourage you to revisit BeetleJuice with fresh eyes, or share your thoughts on it if it's your first time watching. What resonated with you? Did you find any personal connection to the themes? And as always, I'd love to hear your reactions and thoughts about the film as we continue to explore Tim Burton's body of work together. All right, folks, that's going to be a wrap for today's episode on BeetleJuice. I think it's been a pretty wild ride exploring the chaos, humor, and heartfelt moments that make this film such a gem in Burton's collection. But fear not, we're still just getting started on our journey through Burton's fantastical filmography. Next up, we're diving into Batman, where Tim Burton takes on the world of Gotham City and redefines the superhero genre with his dark, gothic touch. This film brings us Michael Keaton again as the Caped Crusader and Jack Nicholson's unforgettable portrayal of the Joker. Batman explores themes of duality, justice, and the shadows that lurk behind the masks we wear. Trust me, you won't want to miss it, so make sure you tune in next time as we take on this iconic and thrilling addition to Burton's filmography. And before we go, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen, and follow us on Threads and Instagram at RealRealTalk. Your feedback means the world to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on BeetleJuice. Did it make you laugh? Did it send shivers down your spine? Or perhaps it struck a chord with your own experiences of feeling out of place? Drop a comment, send a message. I'm eager to hear your reactions. As we wrap up, remember, each film is a new journey, and I can't wait to explore more of these cinematic treasures with you. Until next time, keep watching, keep loving, and keep those reels rolling.